me share my screen. Welcome back to another episode of weekly crypto market recaps. And same old here. You know, Icarus of Alexandria and myself, AI Zoro.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, first things first. North Korea behind the cyber hacks that's happened. A couple of the largest ones, and I find that pretty interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way for them to make money, honestly. It's a bit, yeah.
Definitely that.
I mean, I guess I would have, I'm not that surprised in the sense that, um, I guess we've seen weirder things from them, but, uh, yeah, it's definitely interesting that it's not just some random group, but actually a whole country that's dedicated to DeFi exploits.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I just added in the music. I forgot. But yeah, no, but yeah, no, definitely. Like they go into this too. Like North Korea started like hiring a bunch of hackers. Oh, like people, like specific students, like training them up, like through schooling and everything, to then eventually become hackers. And like it's interesting because like you said, it's an interesting way to make money. Because like who's really gonna stop them? Like it's if you could do it, right? Like that's interesting. They
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
what was most surprising to me was that apparently, according to this thread, they actually educate the people in Russia and China. I would have expected
yeah,
that. Um, I don't know. They built some facility of their own to educate these students, but actually they just send them to
yeah,
Russia and China because they're allies apparently,
right.
and they teach them there. But I mean, yeah, I guess it works for them, and obviously they've been pretty successful at it. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I don't
No,
know.
like look, it even shows right here, like very young. They don't they start very early. They don't care about anything. Like they understand that the more that they have in their group as hackers, the more power they have over you know things like this and like the internet. Because like it's not they're not just using them to just hack DeFi protocols or bridges or you know like in crypto, they're doing other things like DDoSing like websites and doing all sorts of
Yeah, yeah,
things disrupting this. It's interesting power to have if you really think about it. Like I mean, I'm not sure about their how much how many people is in their army and like how large the army is in comparison to everybody else around the world. But like, I mean, that team of hackers is you know it's really something to look at.
yeah. I think it's interesting. I think DJ and Spartan was also talking about this a few months back, or maybe even last year, um, where in this a new system where you can have a much more free form of governance. Protocols will not only have to defend against like malicious influences in the governance level by like I don't know a single actor or maybe a group, but also whole countries, and then
Yeah,
it's not even only the governance. Obviously, it's also in at the smart contract level, and I think I've seen a few threads about how they did kind of social engineering. I think that's also how they did
yeah.
the axe attack, right? So yeah, that's obviously super sophisticated. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting way for them
Through
to make
LinkedIn.
money. I'm sorry.
They did it through LinkedIn, through job offers,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
it's just
it's
hilarious.
super weird, but I mean, I get why they do it in a sense because almost no one wants to trade with them, right? So they
Yeah.
have to make money somehow. And I'm not saying it's good, obviously, because it's not. Um, but yeah, if you're so isolated that basically almost no one wants to trade with you, then you usually need some resources from outside. So how are you
Yeah.
gonna get that? Yeah, you have to make money somehow. But yeah,
Yeah. No,
interesting way.
definitely.
Interesting to see that now we also have states acting within crypto. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting that. Let's say 5 years ago.
Yeah. The thing is like how you're saying, like they need some way to like make money and like, but like they educated themselves enough to realize that, oh yeah, specifically bridges may have some vulnerability that we can exploit. Like
Yeah, I think
it's
it will be
crazy.
interesting also to see how other states in, let's say, 10 years act in this space, because I know that also I believe Israel has a really advanced cyber, um, I guess, cyber security or cyber warfare department, you could call it, because I believe everyone in Israel has to serve at least a little while in the army, both men and women.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, maybe it's a year or maybe it's 2 years, I don't know, but a period of time, and a lot of people go into the cyber security department. So yeah, they're really advanced in that aspect. So maybe, who knows, in let's say 10 years or so, maybe they're also in that space. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Like it, just other countries seeing what you know North Korea is doing, they're gonna want in, and they're gonna get their own team possibly. And
Yeah,
like
and
I,
maybe not even for hacks, right? But also if,
just
let's
for
say,
bug bounties. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, for bug bounty, but also if, let's say, something like Aave, who's pretty big on kind of being compliant with institutional stuff and things like that.
yeah,
Let's say Aave were to be taken over by either one government or maybe multiple governments at some point in some form, then
yeah,
it could also be not in the sense of trying to hack different DeFi protocols, but it could also be the other way around, where they're using their capabilities to defend certain protocols more than maybe others who are
right.
more, I don't know, let's say
That's true.
some random some random protocol, right, that just launched and is maybe only yeah, a kind of a shitcoin protocol.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No, that makes sense. Like, oh, why would I? Like, I get why they would just choose which ones they would want to protect because maybe you need, a certain amount of resources and it costs money. But like, even
Right.
just the power to be able to just say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna protect these because I know, like, these are on my side in some fashion. Like, it's interesting. Like, yeah, I could really see how countries could really fight over some of these different protocols.
Yeah, yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how this develops.
Definitely. I mean, and it's not just gonna be on on the screen. It's gonna be on the phone too. Just the fact that like the first OS, Ethereum OS on an Android is it's pretty interesting. Like I kind of want to switch from iPhone just to download this. And I know it's not even close to fully coming out. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this, in a way, is kind of a super smart move if you compare it to the
Yep.
Solana phone, right? Because
Right.
I think, and I don't know, is this out already, or was this just announced as coming in the near future?
Well, people could. It says it's in beta already, and people could
Right, right.
download and probably use some of the features. But like some right here, like the messaging probably, and like being able to mint anything that's in your camera roll already into an NFT. That's probably just coming soon, probably
Yeah,
like
right. So
relatively soon, not too far out.
yeah, so then I think basically if they do this right, I think this has a way higher um, chance of succeeding in a
Yep.
sense, because I think a few weeks back we talked about the Solana phone, right? And
Yeah.
um, basically my point was like, yeah, probably your average person is not just gonna switch their phone for some phone that's crypto oriented, even
Right.
though it might be super user friendly and have the best UX ever, right?
Right.
Um, and I think that phone was mostly aimed at people, probably Solana users,
Right. Definitely.
maybe some other people from who are more into different ecosystems would buy the phone if they're curious, but I don't see, let's say, half of Ethereum users suddenly buying a Solana phone. That's just never gonna happen.
Yeah.
And also, not all Solana users are gonna buy a Solana phone, right? Like that's also
Right.
not gonna happen. But with this OS, I think especially if they focus or could focus more on the kind of privacy preserving aspect, if they're able to do that well and like focus on the open source aspect, then I think it could really be kind of hitting two birds with one stone, in the sense that then obviously Ethereum is already the biggest ecosystem within crypto. So yeah, you're probably going to win over more people from the Ethereum side who want to transfer over to this OS. And then the thing is, if you're able to first of all win over crypto people, but then also people who might be more into the privacy stuff, the privacy preservation, then it's much easier for you to, if you already have a phone, to just
Right.
download a new OS than to say like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna buy this completely new phone of a brand that's not even proven yet. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, like Solana, Solana doesn't even have a fully functioning blockchain half the time, let alone
Yep.
them being a phone company. So I mean, yeah, I don't really see that many people making the switch. And again, like I said, and back then, it could be kind of the best case scenario I see for them would be just people who are now into crypto, um, moving over to that phone, and then maybe in a few years' time, when crypto is more important, like your average person also seeing, oh, right, that seems to be a great phone, and I
Right.
want to get more into crypto. Maybe for my next phone, I'll get a Solana phone, but that honestly seems a bit like a stretch to me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if Ethereum really makes this easy for people to make the switch from, let's say, Android to Ethereum OS, then I don't know. I could see it work, but also again, not probably not immediately for your average person. That's realistically not gonna happen.
Yeah. No.
Um, but yeah, who knows? I think it's good at least to have the competition between these two ecosystems. It would be great if there's also maybe. Wait 1 second.
Yeah. No. I definitely agree with them.
Sorry. Well, sorry. Just getting back to the OS. Um,
Yeah. No. No worries, man.
yeah. But what do you think?
Well, it's like I agree with you 100% because like even some of the things that they were saying down here were like you could get the Pixel 5a. I wouldn't get a Pixel at all, right? If it
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
for this coming out. And like I have an iPhone and I hate my iPhone because it's so closed off. Like even like
Yeah,
us trying to create apps, even decentralized apps, like we have to go through Apple. We have to hope and see if they approve us on the App Store. It's annoying, and could be pretty interesting, honestly. And if they really can make it easy, yeah, no, I like that. And like, especially with how Google's structured, like they like in the last keynote that they had, like the last event, they were talking about, oh, we created this open software, um, open source, like pretty much like where you could pretty much like have it installed into a phone as an SMS, like that type of system. Where and like they were pretty much taunting like Apple to pretty much switch over. And like I don't even like the idea of Google having access in a certain way to like messages at all. And
yeah,
seeing
no,
something like this is it's pretty exciting because like that's something that I've been waiting for a long time. Hopefully they
yeah,
can come out with a version like this for email too.
yeah, exactly. That's a good point because for the last phone that I bought, what I wanted was kind of something that was pretty much indestructible and preferably also private. So
Right.
the destructible part, I pretty much found that in this, yeah, super obscure Chinese brand, but so far it's been great. It's called
That's
Ukitel.
good.
But yeah, basically, normally my phone would last for maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then I would break the screen. And then until the
Yeah.
end of my subscription that I had, I would have to deal with this phone where the screen was just cracked, and this thing
Yeah.
is pretty much indestructible, but it still runs on like normal Android, and all the phones that were way more privacy preserving, or at least the ones that I really looked into, were way more simplistic in a sense where, for example, something that I use pretty often is Google Maps to find,
Hmm.
let's say, find your way around the city, right? And that's just not something you can really use if you don't have an Android phone. And if they could come up with something where you have like a decent, super well encrypted messaging app, something like a Signal level, um, on basically, it doesn't really matter the OS that it has to me, right? That doesn't really
Right.
matter too much. But if you have something like that, then of course you have to be able to call with it. Um,
Yep.
would be nice to have like a music player. I mean, that's not difficult to make unless you
Yeah.
want to be able to stream music, I guess. Then it gets harder. And then also something like Maps, maybe a few other apps. Then I guess you wouldn't meet most like the bare essentials, right? Like the most basic needs. But yeah, that seems kind of hard. And also email, like you mentioned, is a good one. I guess that might be a bit easier. I think Maps would just be the most difficult one to replicate since Google
Yeah.
is just so far ahead with that. Um, but yeah, let's see where this goes, because in
Yeah.
principle it's very interesting.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's just the fact that like they got motivated with the release of Solana phone. It's
Yeah,
pretty exciting because I thought it would be like a little like a couple of more months down the line before we see something like this. I'm
yeah. I
glad they
also definitely did not expect this at all.
yeah, so I'm glad that they started now. So hopefully we can see some, cool things that, definitely make me switch over immediately because,
Yeah,
man, that'll be interesting. I mean, what do you think about this with Bancor? Pretty much, it's pretty much known that they were going to be insolvent early on, like at least like, a couple months before, like almost a year pretty much before they pretty much halted everything.
yeah. Like it doesn't look good for them. Let's just say that. And I don't
No,
know.
I agree.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't followed the new Bancor proposals. But I mean, if you really thought about like the tokenomics, then yeah, you could basically see that it was never going to be sustainable.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I agree.
so, but yeah, also I didn't do that, right? Like I didn't do that until pretty much the very end. But luckily, I realized it before the whole thing went down. But I think a lot of people should put more research into what they put their funds in.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
like if you realize it, it's actually so tricky to put your funds in any smart contract because
No, it
first of
really
all,
is.
yeah, first of all, let's say in the example of Banco, right? First of all, you have to really understand the protocol on almost, I would say, um, maybe not the deepest level, but in the sense that you really have to understand the fundamentals behind it, because otherwise you could have something where you could have a situation which happened now with Banco, right? Where the smart contract just works as intended. There's, as far as I know, at least, not really any problems with the smart contract, but just the way that the smart contract was designed is not like it should be, in the sense that like the tokenomics are just not what they should be, and how the protocol functions is in essence just flawed.
Yeah,
That's one thing you have to look out for. But then also, let's say that was not the case for Bancor. Let's say everything worked as intended, and you were just protected against impermanent loss. Then what if there was somehow some kind of failure in the smart, or not, a failure is not the right word, but like, let's say like a loophole,
yeah,
through which someone was able to exploit the smart contract. That's even more difficult, because then you not only have to understand like the fundamental principles of the protocol, but you basically have to be able, um, at the contract level, so at the solidity level, to understand like, is everything, um, like completely how it's supposed to be, or is there any possibility for an exploit? And I think most users cannot be reasonably expected, to be able to assess that, right? Because yeah, understand, like reading documentation and getting to understand the protocol is one thing, but understanding the actual code itself is not something most people will be able to do, because most people don't know Solidity or any programming
no,
language for that matter. So it's super tricky if you actually think about it. And I think these things you realize more when everyone's risk off in a bear market, and in like in the bull market, it's just like, let's connect my wallet to any website
right.
whatsoever, in the hopes that it makes me money, if I buy this random token, right? But
Yep.
even that is just not really what you actually want to do. Like, preferably, you would just keep only, let's say, a small amount in a trading wallet, and then every once in a while you transfer over funds to a main wallet that doesn't touch anything that's ideally not even connected to the internet, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, most people probably don't do that, which is also understandable to some degree, because most people don't care about OPSEC. Um, but
They
yeah,
just want to make money.
yeah, and I
They don't
mean,
care about it.
it's also understandable coming from a more um, traditional background for most people, in the sense that if you lose money through your bank, you can, in a lot of cases, just call them and be like, hey, I did this wrong. Or let's say you send money to the wrong bank account, right?
Yeah.
yeah, reasonably, you can, as far as I know, you can just call your bank and be like, "Hey, I sent some money to this bank account that I was not supposed to send it to. Can you revert the transaction?" And
Yeah.
then that's possible. In DeFi, that's just absolutely not possible.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's a lot more that the users got to make sure that they don't accidentally do, and like I mean that kind of goes back to the Ethereum OS. Even with the Solana phone, they both had like the wallet integrated like directly, so like the users don't even have to think about saving that, you know, the 12 word phrase or anything. They have to worry about any of that. They just go ahead and use everything
Yeah,
essentially, and like there's a lot of things that we gotta like simplify so it could definitely get more traction. But I hear you, man.
yeah. I think what you said about like simplifying the whole experience, I think that's probably one of the most important parts of onboarding more users and like scalability, because um,
Yep.
right now a lot of scalability talk is about like, yeah, and we can now do this many transactions per second, and that's, of course,
Right.
that's good, because let's say you were able to onboard all these users and you don't even think about like the theoretical limit, then obviously you're gonna run into problems much sooner. But let's say that you were able to scale to 1 billion transactions per second right now, right? That's not really possible for for any blockchain out there
Right.
for now. But you're not going to be able to find that many users to kind of, I mean, maybe you would be able to fill the block space because people would just spam the whole thing, and that could be, but it would still come only from like a very small fraction of people. Like it, what I'm trying to say is there would only be a few users, relatively speaking, taking up the majority of the block space, and it wouldn't
Hmm.
be kind of organic in the sense that it would not be that the amount of transactions also really reflect the users. So yeah, if you're not able to attract more users because it's still super clunky, right? Like for example, it feels kind of dumb that you need to pay gas. As stupid as it may sound, um, you're never gonna. Let's say you're not. You want to pay for coffee with a blockchain technology, right? You're never
Yeah.
gonna pay for a coffee using even Ethereum layer twos, where I don't know what the average Arbitrum transaction costs right now, right? But let's say if it's let's say if it's 50 cents, right? I don't know what the amount was the last time I used the Arbitrum, but let's say it's 50 cents. You're not going to pay for a coffee that's, I don't know, let's say it's, I don't know how much it is in the States, but let's say here it's around 3 euros, which by the way is now equal to $1. But let's say
Yep.
it's 3 4 euros. You don't want to pay 50 cents transaction costs in that. That 10 cents would already be kind of like, why I gotta pay 10 cents, right? For every transaction. It gets kind of doable between, I would say, at least if we're talking about generally the Western world, it would, I guess it would be acceptable in the range of like 1 to 5 cents maybe. And I mean
Mm.
maybe in kind of everyone apart from the lower class would maybe also be fine with 10 cents, but even 10 cents per transaction adds up quite a lot if you're doing
Yeah.
a lot of transactions, right? And that's, then you're not even talking about what I just described, not even talking about everyone outside of the Western world. Like 10 cents per transaction would be insane if you're making, let's say $10 a day, right? Which
Yeah.
is not even unthinkable of, like, that's
Right.
uh that's not even that's not even in the lowest income countries, right? Then you're already kind of in, I guess, the in some emerging markets. So yeah, then obviously you don't want to be spending 10 cents every time you do a transaction. So I
Yeah,
guess that's one thing, and then also just having to import RPCs, for example. Basically, even having to be aware that you're using different blockchains is already a hurdle that ideally should not be there. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, there's still so much to improve.
I mean, there is a lot, man. It's crazy. I mean, it goes all the way down to like the application layer. You can see here, people still trying to fight to get their money back in something they assumed would be like, DeFi, decentralized
Yeah,
finance, or even like something like them promising the idea of a solution that would work like 100%, cover a hundred
yeah.
percent of their funds.
I mean, I was just thinking about, and I was thinking a bit about like the Euro stablecoin. I don't know. Did we talk already about that last time or no?
Yeah, yeah. I remember when the USDC released their version, or was it
Yeah.
USDT? Yeah, they both did.
Uh, yeah. Circle, the company behind USDC,
Yeah,
released their Euro Classic coin, but
yeah,
yeah, it just seems a little bit like who would use this? I think I already said that then, but
yeah,
yeah, especially with the whole euro dollar falling, that's yeah, I don't know. But I mean, we can skip that if we already talked about that last time. I didn't remember.
no, like it's crazy that it's so close to being 1-to-1. Honestly,
Yeah, I
but
mean, it will. Yeah, we'll probably flip it by probably, I don't know. I would, if I would have to guess, I would say before the end of summer, which
oh
is
man,
to talk about. But yeah,
yeah, no, it's crazy, man. But yeah, like it's crazy how just to finish this off with the Bancor DAO and the whole situation, they just announced that like foundation's a separate entity, that they're not responsible for any failures in regards to the protocol, which is kind of weird because that's a whole other thing. But what do you think?
yeah, it seems it seems kind of on brand for everything that's happening lately, where you hear like,
Yeah,
uh, I think you heard some stories about Do Kwon
yep,
trying to flee his house, right? Because he didn't want. Obviously, these guys all don't want their personal money to be taken to pay off
exactly.
whatever goes wrong with their protocol, right? Now you also hear stories about Suzu and Kyle
Yep,
fleeing Singapore to Dubai. I mean, I don't know if those rumors are true, but that's pretty much in the same vein as the Do Kwon
yep,
story. This is also kind of that story in the sense that, I mean, they didn't flee anything because obviously Bancor is a lot less big than those other two cases I mentioned. But
right,
um, so yeah, I don't really think like regulators are gonna be as much on top of this as those other two. But they're maybe this is even worse in a sense because they're not even trying to flee, or at least it seems like this. They're pretty much just giving bank or LPs the middle finger and like, yep,
yep.
now we
Exactly.
we're good. Sorry for you, but yeah, we're not gonna do anything.
No, that's kind of crazy how that's like they're just letting it happen and they're just gaslighting everybody. That's how I see it. Pretty much just telling them the solution's coming, and like whatever they do put together is not gonna. It's just a band aid essentially, and it's
Yeah,
not gonna be a long term solution. And not everybody's gonna be made whole. So yeah, that whole situation's completely dead. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, it's centralized entities. I mean, Bancor is a centralized entity if you really look at it now. You know,
Yeah,
like
definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, they proved to be that when they just, without any kind of vote, stopped the. What was it? They stopped the. They didn't stop the
yeah,
withdrawal. They stopped the impermanent laws. Yeah.
they stopped the vote to revert that essentially,
Yeah.
revert it. So like it, yeah, or just to keep it as is. And of course, they voted to keep it as is, and majority didn't. I mean, this is
Yeah.
gonna happen a lot. I mean, if we have some centralized entity that have a big portion of the entire supply, they're gonna leverage that. You know, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
Of course, and that's also kind of the funny thing. Um, if you think about DAOs, right? Um, like the way I see it, most DAOs vote on, let's say, most DAOs have some form of like the first letter of the protocol's name. So let's say um, in Bancor it's like the B, obviously, and then I for improvement, and then P for proposal. So it's BIP and then the number of the proposal. Um, but usually that involves some programming, right? Something that has to be coded, like
yeah,
um, I don't know. Even if we're not talking about Bancor anymore, it could be, for example, um, let's say you have this governance token that's pretty much only that, and you would say like, all right, we're somehow redirecting uh, protocol fees at least partially to the token holders, something
yeah,
like that. You have to code for that pretty much. If you
right,
Whether you would distribute the rewards directly, or if you want to do kind of a supply buyback where by that by doing that you would hope that the token price rises. But anyway, you have to code for that. But
yeah,
ultimately, who's responsible for doing that? The devs on the team.
yeah,
But even if the community votes yes for a proposal like that, then if the devs just don't do it, then who's gonna do anything, right? Like, it's a kind of a meme at this point, the governance proposals, because
yeah,
at the end of the day, if the devs just absolutely don't want to do it, then no one or nothing is forcing them. Like, these are not like legally binding votes or anything. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
until that happens, then I guess governance or DAOs are somewhat of a meme, unless it's kind of less code dependent issues, I guess, that you're voting on, maybe. But then you could argue, like, why even if it's not a super important thing, why then even use a DAO, right? Um,
Yep.
so yeah,
Mhm.
unless it's legally binding or you have some AI execute whatever it is that needs to be coded right away,
Right.
then it's still kind of a meme to me, because you can't really force the devs to do anything.
Yeah, that's so true. Very true. Man, what do you think about what Nexo's pretty much doing with the employees, setting up a whole pyramid
I
scheme?
mean, I think you know more about that than I do, so maybe you can enlighten me.
I mean, what I seen like right off the gate was just the fact that they were pretty much hiring people and telling each employee that they hired, "Oh, sign up as many of your family as you can," and probably incentivize them. It's like, "Oh yeah, the more people you get, oh yeah, they most likely
The bigger
it actually
bonus,
did."
the
Yeah,
bigger
like
your bonus is gonna be.
right, right. The
Yeah,
bigger salary, your big here's a bonus, anything like that, and like
yeah,
it's crazy because like I mean that is a pyramid scheme if you really think about it, and all those people that just joined into this like pyramid essentially, like it's not just like a bunch of users that's coming in and actually wanting to use it. It's a mixture of the employees and these families, and like it makes you think like if they're willing to do something like that, and like why would you really trust to have your money with them? Nexo is just gonna like you do some other funny business and lose your money somehow, or even like I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, okay, so from hearing the story, I would not go as far as to say that this is like a fully fledged pyramid scheme, in the sense that the way I hear it is, it's like, all right, the employees had to also sign up their family or friends, I don't know, but but that family was not then required to also sign up more people, right? Like you would normally
true.
have a traditional pyramid scheme, but then it's just, it seems like just such a complicated way of trying to get more users, because I don't know, like to me it seems like the average family nowadays doesn't have that many people. I mean, maybe if you count extended family like aunts and uncles
Yeah.
and cousins and people like that, then sure, maybe you might get a bit more people. But I think if I would have to guess, even looking at my family, you would not even get 20 new users. So, um, like
Yeah,
that's,
because they would have to want to or have a need for or something,
yeah. But let's say even if all of them were also to sign up, right?
Yeah.
Then that's not that many new users. If you have like, let's say you have 1,000 organic users, right, who didn't come
Yeah.
in through employees, and you then hire one employee, and let's say they're able to sign up 20 new members through their family, which I think honestly you're not even going to get on average 20 people per in as family members in employees, because like maybe they have cousins that are still underage, or like
Right.
brothers and sisters that are still underage who can open an account, etc., etc. So you're probably getting less than 20. But let's say if we're just talking hypothetically that it's 20, then that's only a drop in a bucket on 1,000, right? Like it's not that much. And even I would say 1,000 users. I don't know how many Nexo had, but 1,000 users isn't even that many. So I would hope at least for them they would have more than that. Let's say might be
No.
10,000, right? Then 20 new kind of members or users through your sort of pseudo pyramid scheme with your employees is even less, right? So I don't know why they would even do that, because it's super inorganic demand, obviously. Um, and it seems like it's just only really a hassle for the employees to kind of have to nag their friends and family.
No. Yeah. No. I hear you. Like it's kind of crazy because like I don't know. Like I'm looking over it now to refresh my memory. I'm remembering that they would have like these billboards like in different locations, just pretty much advertising the fact that they're hiring and everything, and like
Right, right.
the positions that they would hire for wasn't anything real. It wasn't any sales or anything. They were just there to just bring as much of the family on board as they can, essentially. And it's I don't know. It's pretty funny because like it says right here, like they would hire thousands of people per year. Right? I was doing the math in my head. It's like okay, even if they were doing like how you were saying, like they got 20 people in their family, right? And they hired 1,000 employees. That's 20,000 people essentially that will sign up from the family.
Yeah.
If they're doing thousands, let's say 10,000. They got like it literally. It's I don't know. Like they would bring in like over 200,000 possibly in different families signing up. for Nexo. So like,
It's just so absurd if you think about
yeah,
it.
no, it really is. It really is, man. Oh shoot, I didn't even realize the time. Well, you think you want to end it off right here?
Yeah, I would say let's just end it off right here.
All
Keep
right,
the
man.
rest maybe for next time.
Yeah, definitely.